Welcome to hand yoga, everyone. Today we are going to use 3 special tools. So if you have the option to grab a pencil and a ball, a tennis ball, but you could also use like 2 pairs of socks rolled together, anything that's sort of like a ball. And lastly, a sock. So this is a longer sock, but you could use a normal sized sock also. You can take a moment to get those. And then when you're back, I want us to take a minute's meditation to get in touch with our hands, to just notice what they feel like in neutral. Do you not feel anything, which would be great? Or do you feel any tingling, numbness, aching, heat, cold, even just that feeling of having cold hands or feeling hot in your hands, that type of thing we want to close our eyes and just gently get in touch with. We will do the same thing at the end of our practice, and that will help us have a better understanding of how the hand yoga has affected us. So we can rest our palms on our knees or at our sides. If our palms are on our legs, they can be palms facing down or palms facing up. We'll gently close our eyes. If we're resting our arms at our sides, it's wonderful to have our elbows straight. So elbows can just be going straight down. The fingers can find any natural curl that feels good to them. Finding a restful hand position. And gently observing our hands, noticing tingling, pulsing, heat, cold, aches. If there's any feeling at the fingernail, at the nail bed, at the joints, at the webbed spaces in between the fingers, or in between the finger and the thumb. You can also notice the flat, smooth parts of our hands, the back of the hand, and the inside of the hand. We can notice the wrist, simply taking note of any feeling or sensation. Now we can begin to let go of any sensation that we might have in our hands. So we can inhale and picture fresh energy coming in through the crown of the head, sending that energy all the way down to our hands, to our fingertips. And then with each exhale, we can visualize any stagnancy, anything that we don't need to hold on to. We can picture that leaving through our fingertips. So we're inhaling anything that our body needs through the crown of the head, sending it down into the body, into the arms, and exhaling away anything that we would like to let go of. And with our hands either resting palms facing up or hands heavy at our sides, we can gently open our hands just 50% open and 50% closed, and then move on to 70% open, 70% closed. So a very soft, subtle movement, ideally with your hands resting in your lap or heavy at your sides with your elbows straight. Just Very soft movements here, bringing activity and movement into our hands. For a lot of us, we grip and pull and tug and press and hold, and those are very dramatic, forceful movements. So a wonderful counterbalance to that is the gentleness of 70% open and 70% closed. And now we can send our hands straight and open, and we'll rest them at our sides so that our arms are heavy at our sides. We'll send our wrist a little bit back so that it's even with the tailbone, back of the hand facing the way that my face is facing. And I'll inhale, flexing my wrist forward, and exhale, flexing back. So I'm inhaling, sending my fingertips forward, and exhaling back. Arms straight and heavy at my sides. And if it feels better to not sync with your breath, to just move your hands at any old speed, that is fine also. It's important throughout the whole process of hand yoga to listen to your body, to tune in and notice what feels good. If something doesn't feel good, you can always back off of it, or you can just do the practice mentally. You can visualize in your mind's eye your body doing any of the movements that we're describing here. And now rest my hands heavy at my sides. And just observe, do you feel any pulsing, tingling, activity, heat in the hands just from those two gentle movements? Now we'll use our first tool. We'll find our pencil or anything that's like a pencil, and we can gently roll that between our hands. And let's begin by rolling as softly and gently as possible. So just as little pressure as it takes to hold the pencil between our hands. And you can have your hands straight in front of you. You can have them near you like I do. They can rest low in your lap. And now we can begin the same light pressure, but rolling more quickly between our hands. So we're not pressing hard yet, but we're increasing the speed. And now we'll slow down again, and we can start to press a little bit more firmly. So we're feeling more of that massage on our fingers, on our joints. Remember that you can always press less firmly. And now we can go both fast and firm as we move between our hands. And we'll rest, straightening our elbows, resting our pencil in front of us. We can close our eyes. And as I observe the effects in my hands, I feel some heat, some tingling, some pulsing, a lot of increased circulation in my hands. Now we're going to do an asymmetrical movement with our pencils. So I'm going to begin with my left hand, and I'm going to use my right fingers to roll just along my palm. And I can start to be very precise. Maybe this feels better on my right fingers, or maybe it's more about my palm. It depends, of course, on your unique body. But I'm just rolling between right fingers and left palm. And if I get a sweet spot where maybe I'm just moving half an inch back and forth along my joints here, or I'm just moving along the pad of my thumb, see what feels good. Notice. Do a little experiment with rolling in this direction. You can also roll on the side of your hand. Here I can roll against the fleshy, pinky side of my palm. And now we'll do the other side. So I'm using my right palm and my left fingers. And again, I can do that whole space, or I can create more of a micro movement, just moving along the knuckles or the pad of the thumb or that fleshy pad underneath the pinky. And again, we'll rest our hands down, elbows nice and straight. If it feels good, perhaps to rotate, to twist the elbows forward and back. Any extra movements here, but we want to make sure we give our hands a rest in between massages with our pencil. Now I'm going to do a very gentle massage on the back of my hand. So I'll begin with the back of my left hand, and I can use any part of my right hand that helps me balance here. So it's a very gentle place. We don't grab things with the back of our hand. So start with a very gentle pressure. This might even feel good if you rest your palm in your lap or on a table and then you roll that way, rolling your hand. I could even rest on my heart space and just roll along the back of my hand. That could even work too, rolling along the backs of my fingers if that feels like a more nourishing place to roll my pencil. Anywhere on the back of the hand that feels good is what we want to get into today. And you can roll just half an inch forward and half an inch back, or you can do a much longer, more sweeping movement. The wrist is also a place that might feel nice. And now we'll do the same on the other side. So just gently rolling our pencil along the back of the right hand. You can see for yourself the difference if it feels good to have your hand floating, to rest your hand on your table surface, or maybe to rest somewhere on your chest or your leg or on your body. You can do long sweeping movements, rolling your pencil, or you can do tiny micro movements, just a quarter of an inch forward, quarter of an inch back. Taking care here to be gentle. We can't press as hard on the back of the hand as we press on the front of the hand or the palm. And we might want to roll onto our wrist as well. And now we'll rest our hands down, we'll rest our pencil down. And again, we might want to twist the shoulder, the elbow, the wrist. Might also feel good to move up and down, alternately lifting and lowering the shoulders. Anything that feels like a good restorative rest for our hands. We'll find our pencil again, and once more I'm going to begin with my left hand, and I'm going to use my pencil now to access some of the webbed spaces in my hand. So I will begin with the webbed space between my thumb and my index, and I can just gently roll here from side to side. I can also roll to closer by the thumb, to closer to the index. Any point of pressure that feels good here that is in that webbed space. And I might have a real softness in my left hand, or I might be more stretched, more open and active energy in that left hand. Only you know what feels good. If something feels good, you can follow that intuition. Just gently opening up your hand. And now we'll move on to the other webbed spaces. And moving on to the next web space. So rolling forward and back here, and potentially side to side. Any intuitive movement that feels good with that pencil in your webbed space of the hand. And now I'm finding that last webbed space next to my pinky finger. You might start leaving pencils all over your house in the future, reminding yourself that you can use this tool to massage your hand. And this one, let's just rest in between. We'll rest both hands nice and still, observing the effects of massaging those webbed spaces. And now we'll make our way to massage the right hand. So we'll begin again with the space between the thumb and the index. And whether you're right-handed or left-handed, this will feel different in both hands. So take your time, begin gently. You can stir, you can roll, you can slide. You can just press and hold. Take some deep breaths as you release from that space. I'm right-handed, so I know I feel more on this side, and that's part of why it feels good to me to begin with my left hand and then work up to the right hand. And now I'll move to the other webbed spaces. Yeah, on this side, just holding still with that pressure of the pencil for me is noticeably nice thing to do. And I'm moving on to my last webbed space next to my pinky finger. And again, I'll rest my hands down at my side, maybe doing my gentle opening and closing movements, maybe just enjoying having my hands still resting in my lap. You can see what pause, what rest feels good for your body. Not done with our pencil yet. Hopefully you have an eraser on your pencil. If you don't, you'll just need to be a little gentler, or you can start to use your sock already. If you wrap, say you're using a pen instead of a pencil, you can just wrap the end of your sock on the pen. And even if you do have an eraser side on your pencil, if you just want to start out a little bit gentler for your body, you can put that sock around, or you can even put the sock You can put the pencil in the sock, and that gives you one layer of fabric instead of two. So find your own softness. You can do a double fold on your sock. Lots of options, but we do want to feel a little bit of pressure here. It's not something we'd rather do with only the sock, but we are going to start to activate the nail bed along our fingers. So I'm going to rest my hand on my chest so you can see easily. You might be very happy resting your hand on your knee or on a table in front of you. And here I am just going to use that soft side of my pencil, and I'm just going to press very gently along the nail bed. So I'm going to come up a little closer, and you're just pressing very gently. I can do that with my finger too. So it's something you can do without a tool, but it's really nice to have that tool, especially if you get the right amount of soft pressure with your pencil. I kind of like doing this up here actually because I can see what I'm doing really well. But on the tabletop is nice too, to just gently press along the cuticle of your finger with that soft pressure of the pencil wrapped with a sock. These spaces that we're working on, the webbed spaces that we just did, as well as the cuticle, those are marma points, M-A-R-M-A, marma. And so they're particularly active parts of the body. There's an energy center there. And so similar to reflexology, if you press or activate that part of the body, it's going to affect more than just the cuticle of your nail. Okay, whenever it feels good, you can shift to the other side. And you can just gently, we're not rubbing. I'm not rubbing from side to side here at all. I'm press, release, press, release, press, release. Letting that hand that's getting the massage be as relaxed as possible. We're not trying to move our cuticle or slide it the way that we would if we were doing a manicure. We're simply trying to press gently to activate that part of our hand. Okay, and then when you're done, you can rest your hands at your sides, nice straight elbows, noticing the effects. We'll move on now. Just a reminder, we've got our three tools, pencil, sock, and ball. So we'll move to our ball. I've got a tennis ball, and I'm going to place that between my palms and just gently press. So this is another marma point, this space in the center of the palm. And so here I can do some little circles. You can see I'm slowly, carefully rotating, or I can just press and squeeze. You can follow your own intuition here with which movement feels good, which speed. You can slide forward and back subtly, up and down subtly. Any of those movements are going to be wonderful for activating that marma point in the center of your palm. If it feels good, rather than pressing one hand into the other, you can press that ball into your tabletop. So you might even roll the ball. You can roll counterclockwise or clockwise. I can show right here. And maybe that feels nice to activate that throat chakra area as well. But I'm just rolling with that ball, and then I would alternate sides, or I can roll both hands into each other. Be careful of your wrist if you're doing it this way. You don't want to be activating that marma point so much that you create any undue strain on your wrist. For others of us, this might feel really good on our wrist. So long as you're paying attention to those subtle differences, it'll be good. And then we'll rest down, just pausing to notice the effects of activating that marma point in the center of our palm. Observing any heat or cold, tingling, any sensations in the hands as they change. The same way that we rolled the pencil between our hands, now we can roll our ball between our hands. And so you can see intuitively what feels good, but we're looking to activate more than just that central marma point in our hand now. So massaging any of the areas of the hand. Maybe you want to roll just between the fingers. Maybe you want to roll into that fleshy space between the thumb and the index. Perhaps rolling, creating a circle here around everything that's around that marma point. And you can do this in just your hands, or you can rest the ball on a tabletop, on the floor, on your leg. So just notice the difference for your own body, which way feels best. If you like this on another surface, or if it feels really great between your hands. And we'll rest our hands down, pausing again to notice the effects. You can do any movements, gentle movements with your arm straight, if that feels good, or you can rest your hands on your legs. It can be as still or as in motion as feels good. Now for a moment, we're going to extend into the forearm. So I know that I personally, when I move my fingers, there's a lot that's happening in my forearm here. So when I do a lot of sewing and quilting and writing, I've been using my hands, but the place that will be extra tired is this place on my forearm. And if we rest our fingers here and then move the fingers, you're going to really feel that activity. You can even visually see the way that those muscles move and flex when you wiggle your fingers. So here we can use our tennis ball to either be still or to rotate. So you can again use your own intuition. If it feels good just to roll the tennis ball up and down the forearm. It can also feel good to press the tennis ball into your forearm and go slow with this because you're going to feel it a lot, I think. I certainly feel it a lot. You can start to flex your fingers just down or flex them up. You can do a rotation. And having that pressure of that tennis ball there, it creates a massage that comes from inside your body when you move your wrist or wiggle your fingers. And so you can play with different locations for that tennis ball. And of course, you can just play with rolling that along your forearm too. So I've moved to obviously just my dominant arm. That's, I think, the place where I really need this massage. You have the option to do this massage for both your right and your left forearm, but whichever one is dominant, you might want to do that one just a little bit more. So whenever you're ready, you can shift over to the other side. It's especially illuminating just to feel the difference between sides. And now we can rest our arms down, rest hands in our laps or heavy at our sides, pausing to feel the effects. We'll take our sock now and just fold the sock up. So I'm rolling it, and then I'll wrap the top of the sock around the rest of it. So I have a little ball made out of sock. And I'm going to squeeze this gently. So it's getting a very, very gentle squeeze. We're not squeezing firmly or hard. You can try squeezing with your arm forward. You can squeeze with your arm resting heavy at your side. If it feels good, you can even try, test it out, arm overhead. That might not feel as good though. So see what feels right for you. I'm going to keep my elbow straight here. Just very gently pulsing, squeezing my hand. And I can try rotating. So now my thumb was to the side. Now I can have my thumb up. I can also have my forearm, that inner forearm, up. Thumbs down might be an awfully big stretch, but see what feels right for you. And I'll shift to the other side. So just gently, very, very gently squeezing my sock. We want to think of this as the antidote to all of the high pressure squeezing that we do all the time. So we're not opening a jar, we're not holding a heavy cup of water. We are holding something that's quite gentle. And we can rest down, resting both hands heavy at our sides. We'll find our ball again, and we can try just seeing how it feels different now. We're not squeezing our ball as hard as we can. Just noticing the difference now, squeezing our ball instead of our sock. I can really see these muscles working differently. It's very active. And we'll take the other side. Remember, we're not squeezing too hard. It's not about who's the strongest ball squeezer. We're just trying to relax our hands. So we're gently, lightly squeezing something that is a different density than what the sock was. And we'll rest down. We'll use our tennis ball now to create a massage for the back of the hand. So similar to how we used our pencil to massage the back of the hand, we can use our tennis ball now. So this might feel really good resting your hand down on a tabletop surface. You might find that it feels good to roll the ball between two fingers. It might also feel good to roll the ball across your fingers. You can roll along your wrist. This one's particularly nice if you're resting on the tabletop. I like this movement up and down my fingers. So just doing this movement up and down the fingers. And then you can try, if it feels good, to roll that ball along your forearm. You can even rest your forearm on the table. So this is different from that massage that came from within when we were rotating our wrist. Here, our arm is pretty relaxed. The massage is coming from that rolling. It's harder for our skin to do that. We can kind of press and jiggle really well, but otherwise we're scraping and sliding. So having something like a ball, it moves very differently against the skin than what you can do with your hand alone. And then whenever you're ready, you can shift to the other hand. So resting this hand on the tabletop, perhaps rolling between the fingers, rolling side to side. Careful you don't press too hard on the true back of your hand. We don't want to have a bruise there when we're done. And taking care of massaging, rolling along our forearm as well. And we'll rest. Our next movement, of course, our hands, if we're caring for our hands, that travels all the way up the nervous system through the shoulder. So we're going to now put our ball in our sock and stuff it all the way down to the toe if we can. And we want to do a massage for our shoulder blades. So I am going to move my chair and give myself a little bit of wall space. So right behind me is a wall. I'm going to send my ball in a sock over my shoulder, and then I can press into the wall. I can nudge it, move it around, and then lean back. And you can do this if you're in a chair, like maybe not this kind of chair that I was in, but if you're on the couch, you could do that. You could even do that laying on the floor. But against a wall is really nice. You can start to roll up and down. You can roll side to side. You can also, once you find that spot, that spot that's really tender, you can just press and relax in there. So consider trying this on a floor, try it on a comfortable couch, try it against the wall. I love having this on a sock though, because it's not going to roll away from me, and I can have a lot of control about how low that is on my shoulder. So I'm going to go to the other side as well. See, that was too low. Here I go a little higher, and just gently creating some movement, massaging into my shoulder, getting under my shoulder blade. Nice deep breaths, really exhaling anything that our body wants to let go of. You could spend the next 20 minutes just doing this sequence. This part's so nice. It can sometimes be helpful to picture a grid on the back of your shoulder just to test out different places. So you can kind of roll along a bunch of rows and columns to find out where's the spot that really gets you. Oh, now I'm kind of under that wing of my shoulder blade rather than being along the side of the shoulder blade. if you wanted to really multitask, once you've got this in a spot that feels good, you can grab your pencil and we can do a grid on our palm as well. Just gently pressing with the eraser along the palm. So see, if that's too much multitasking for you, you can do one thing at a time, but this is just one more technique that is great with a pencil. And again, when you find a pressure point, when you find a spot that's a little extra tender, just hold and exhale through the mouth. So just getting both of those spots at the same time. I'm going to shift to the other side. I, being right-handed, I'm going to keep my tennis ball right where it is on the right side of my body. Okay, and now when and if you're ready, we can step away from the wall. We can rest all three of our tools. We can take a moment to thank them, right? Who knew these ordinary items could be such effective, wonderful massage tools? And now we can rest our hands heavy at our sides or resting hands on our legs, palms facing up or down. And as promised at the beginning of our practice, we're going to take a minute to observe the effects of the massage that we did on our hands, and of course the limbs connected to the hands. So we can sit back in our chair or we can sit tall. And we want to take note of the things that we did at the beginning of our practice. So heat or cold, the joints, the pads of the fingers, the nails, the palm, the wrist. We want to observe any sensations of aching, tingling, numbing, tenderness. Having stirred up all of our muscles, we can again picture inhaling through the crown of the head, anything that our body needs, and exhaling away, letting go of, with each exhale, anything that feels good to release. And we'll create some movement again in our hands, wiggling our fingers, moving the arms. We'll connect palm to palm at our hearts, just moving the wrists a few times. And then with palm to palm, noticing the energy between the hands, we'll gently send some deep gratitude to our hands for everything that they do for us. The light and the good and the best in me bows to the light and the good and the best in each of you. Namaste. Thank you, everyone.